Hello everyone, thank you for watching my videos. In my last WinAFL related video, I have shown you how do we install WinAFL, how do we configure it using DynamoRio, and how do we fuzz it, very simple program. I also did one root cause analysis using WinDBG and Visual Studio. So since there was some issue with the video capture, I was not able to share my screen, and many people they missed the debugging session which I did over there. So I decided that I will create a short video today, maybe around 5 to 10 minutes long, which in which I will simply show you how do we run WinAFL, how do we make sure that our target is working fine under DynamoRio, and the first function is getting instrumented properly, and then we will do a simple root cause analysis using Visual Studio again, and we will use WinDBG to figure out the root cause of a crash. So in this video I'm using Visual Studio for root cause analysis, as well as I'm using WinDBG. This is because in real life you don't have the source code of the program you want to fuzz, and but you need to know that how does a crash looks like at the source code level, and for that we will use Visual Studio, and then we will use WinDBG to replicate a real life scenario where you don't have source code, but you need to analyze a simple vulnerability. So we will follow both the approach, and hopefully the people who are new to this stuff can understand a little bit from that, and can learn how to do root cause analysis. So let's start. So I hope that you have already downloaded and configured WinAFL. Basically it requires downloading WinAFL from GitHub, and DynamoRio both are from GitHub, and I need to copy the file over here. And WinAFL follow a very simple structure. So there are a lot of folder inside WinAFL, and you can see that there is a folder name bin32, and there is a folder name bin64. So bin32 directory will contains all the application which are compiled in 32-bit mode, and out of which we will be using AFL first.exe. So this is something similar which we used in our Linux videos when we are trying to fuzz a program using AFL on Linux. So this is the same Windows port of that tool, and let's go and see what does DynamoRio contains. So when you go to DynamoRio folder, you can see that it contains bin32 directory, bin64. So since we are using our 32-bit build, let's go and see bin32. So inside bin32 you can see there are a lot of executable with their symbol files, and so in our case which WinAFL uses is drrun.exe. So this is actually the file which does all the runtime instrumentation, and WinAFL uses this instrumentation output to perform its mutation and fuzzing. So there is a very simple command before you run your program under WinAFL. Before you fuzz anything under WinAFL, you need to make sure that everything is working fine. And so for that, what you can do is you can simply run WinAFL in debug mode, and for that you need to use drrun.exe. So to run this command, I will suggest you to run this command, this drrun.exe. You need to use the full path like this in whatever folder you have copied that, and you need to run this command from your WinAFL and bin32 directory, because this is where we'll copy our readfile.exe and its readfile.pdb symbol. This will also have our sample image file over here. So let's go and see the command syntax. So the command syntax is pretty simple: drrun.exe -c. So -c here means the client. So what it says that drrun.exe, there is a client, that is winafl.dll, and then there is an argument that is -debug. So it says that WinAFL will be run in debug mode, and it means that it will generate some log messages which we can use to debug the WinAFL, and to see that everything is working fine, including our runtime instrumentation. and then there is a argument called target module. So this is the module which contain all our parsing functionality. This is the file which contains the function which we want to fuzz. So and then there is a another argument called target offset. So this is actually the offset of the function which we want to fuzz. So in our case it is process image, because this is a function which is getting called by main, and this function is actually responsible for doing all the file related operation and all the data which it receives from the file. So then there is another argument which is fudge iteration, that is we are giving as 10. And what does fudge iteration over here means over here is that our target program, which is this will get executed for 10 times, and this function offset which we are giving, it will be called 10 times. So WinAFL will hook this function 10 times. It will use pre-fuzz handler, post-fuzz handler. It will restore the state of that program, and it will again repeat that for 10 times. And then there is something called anarch. So that is the number of argument our target function takes, that is 2, and hyphen our fuzz exe name, that is read file.exe, and there is a sample input file which we need to give. So basically WinAFL what it will do is it will monitor this target module. It will go to this offset. It will run this file with this file as input, and it will do this for 10 times, and it's pretty simple. So let's go ahead and run this command, and when you run this command, it will generate a simple log file which we can use to debug further. So as you can see, what it has done is that it has executed our program for 10 times over here, as you can see. And when you go and check in your Win32 directory under WinAFL, you can see that a file has been generated. The file name follow a simple convention, afl dot fuzz executable name, and then I think this is PID or something, and proc.log. So let's open and see what does it contain. So you can see that it monitors the module load. So we can see our module that is a read file.exe getting loaded over here. There are a couple of DLL which it is calling, and below that you can see this message. It says that in pre-fuzz handler, then in open file. So this open file W API is getting called. It is reading image.image file. So this is the file we give as an input over here, and then it says in post fuzz handler. So what actually happens over here is that WinAFL in the compiled exe, we have given the offset of this process image function. So WinAFL has come over here. It called the pre-fuzz handler, which actually saved the program state at that time over here. Then it let this function execute whatever this function wants to do. Let him do, and it will monitor for any crashes or something. And when this function finishes over here, it will return, and when it return over here, it will again save the state. It will restore the state of the program, and then it will again jump to here. So this will so it will do all this operation 10 times. And so you can see that over here, you can see that open file W is called 10 times, or in pre-fuzz handler, post-fuzz handler will be called 10 times. And you can see a message over here which says that everything appears to be running normally. So it means that our instrumentation is working fine. We are good to go with our fuzzing task ahead, and we can start fuzzing our program. And you can see that it says coverage map follows. So this is not clearly visible because I am not using any hex editor over here. I will show it later on. So if you see that everything is working fine, if you see this pre-fuzz handler, post-fuzz handler is getting called, then it means that you are good to go. You can start fuzzing your program. So to fuzz WinAFL, I have already shown you the command we'll be using. So this is the simple command. Now in case of Linux, it was pretty simple. You just need to use afl fuzz hi input folder, o output folder, and hyphen and your executable name and @ symbol. But in case of Windows, we don't have compile time instrumentation. So as we are using DynamoRio for runtime instrumentation, so we need to use a option called -d, and we need to give the bin32 directory of our DynamoRio folder, so that it can find drrun.exe over here. Then we'll give some parameter which will be used to determine the coverage and all this thing by DynamoRio. So we'll use hyphen coverage module, and that is read file.exe, then target module, that is again read file.exe in our case, and then target offset, which is the offset of the function we want to fuzz. So one thing to note over here is that what is the difference between coverage module and target module. This is where most of the people or newcomer, they get confused. So the difference is very simple. The coverage module will be the name of the module which contains the functionality you want to fuzz. So for example, in our case, it is same read file.exe. Both are same, like coverage module is same as well as target module is same, because all the functionality is in single exe. But what happens if we have one read file.exe which actually calls another function from a DLL, say read file.dll, which contains all the file parsing function, like we have seen over here, right? Suppose this function doesn't belong to this read file project, but there is another separate DLL file which exports this function. So in that case, all the file parsing related stuff will happen inside that DLL, and so that will become our coverage module over here, because we actually want to fuzz that DLL, and this simple program which we have written over here is just calling that DLL function. So this program will call as a harness, and this coverage module will be like read file.dll. So this is very important in case you want to fuzz Windows related program, because in Windows you generally get the DLL and you don't get executable. So for example, if you want to fuzz a bitmap file parsing functionality, or if you want to fuzz EMF file parsing functionality, then all those functionality are inside a DLL file called gdi32.dll or gdi plus.dll. So in that case, you need to write a simple program which calls that gdi32.dll function, and then you need to use WinAFL to fuzz that. So if you are calling a DLL, say gdi32.dll, and then in that case you need to give coverage module as gdi32.dll over here, and the target module will be something like whatever project name you had, like fuzzgdi.exe, which is calling the gdi32.dll. So I hope that this difference is clear, and now you know what is the difference between coverage module and target module. And then target offset, you already know, you can use WinDBG to figure it out. Then we have first iteration. So as I mentioned, right, in this last time when we are doing a test dry run over here, we mentioned it as 10. So in this case we are giving it as 5000, so that WinAFL will execute our particular function 5000 times, then it will kill the entire process and it will again start. So that is what we call as an in-memory fuzzing over here. Then there is another parameter called call convention. So it can be this call, it can be std call, or it can be c declaration, or it can be fast call. So this is generally most in case of Windows, what I have found is giving this call will work perfectly fine. In very rare cases, if you are fuzzing on 64-bit, then that calling convention might have to be changed. So if you are fuzzing it on 32-bit system, then I will recommend that you use this call, but that may not be the case, you know, all the time. You might need to change it. So I do some analysis and you can easily figure that out. And after that you can see anarch, so that is number of argument your function takes, that will be 2. And then there is coverage type. So there are two types of coverage, which is like block, and there is age. We'll see it later on. Right now just use age coverage, because from what I know, this seems to be better than block coverage. And hyphen the same syntax as we follow in Linux, that is your executable file name and @@. So let's go and first using WinAFL now. So I'm just copying pasting this command. So this command initially you will feel that it's too big, you are not able to understand, but when you understand the functionality, it becomes very clear. Like everything over here specifies a command either to WinAFL or to the coverage module, that is drun, and there is a reason you need to give all these things. So as you practice more and more, you understand more, you can easily correlate it why this command is too big over here. And so let's see. Okay, as you can see, we already found around 2 unique crashes. So let's wait for some more time and see what happens. So you can see that the GUI is similar to Linux, and everything is same over here. There is no change. So uh, I will probably do a separate video explaining what all this different thing you see over here, like stage or cycle, uh, fudging strategy or path geometry. What does it mean? So I think we don't have much time, so I'm going to stop it now, and we'll do a root cause analysis using Visual Studio first, and then we'll use WinDBG first after that. So I have opened my Visual Studio over here, and as you can see, our simple C program. And what I'm going to do over here is that I am going to give debug inside the debugging section. I am going to give our crash file name over here. So as you can see, inside our WinAFL bin32 folder, you can see one out image folder, and it contains variety of folder like crashes or hangs. So if you go to the crashes, this is the folder where you will find all the crashes over here. So and inside the hangs you can see all the hangs. So, and there are two Windows specific folder, that is DR cache and PT modules. So these are Windows specific. We are not going to check them right now. And with this I'm going to close my VM so that we can don't get any hang or something. Okay, and let's simply compile and test what is causing the issue, what is causing the crash. So I just pressed F10 on my Visual Studio and let it compile and go to the main function. So it's taking some time, but it is loading some symbol, and you can see I have enabled PG for my debug build as well. So page if you want to enable, you can use gflex utility. You just need to go and give your path over there, and that will enable page for your binary. So I think it is taking some time. Let me restart it. Some issue at my end. Okay, once more. Hopefully it will work this time. So it seems that it is downloading the symbol, and that's why it is taking some time. Okay, my net is slow, so that's why it is taking time. Let's wait for some more time, and we will debug it further. Meanwhile, I will open WinDBG as well, just to speed up the stuff. So okay, almost done. Okay, so it has stopped at main. Now let's go ahead and debug this. So I will just do a F11 so that we can trace inside the process image function. We are just doing step in, now step over. So you can see it is opening the file over here. Some sanity checks just to make sure that file pointer is not pointing to null. Okay, enter the while loop. It is reading the data from the file in structure of structure image, and okay, so you can see that it is calculating size 1 as we have seen in our EFL videos for Linux. Width and height, which seems too high over here. You can see width and height, and size 1 has actually become a very large value, and so there is a buffer which is getting allocated using malloc of size 1. I think it should fail, so you can see that okay, I think it got allocated over here. Okay, it is freeing over here. Then there is size 2 which is getting calculated, so width is getting subtracted from the height. That is fine, and again there is a malloc, there is a mam copy, size 3 is getting calculated. Then there is a buffer 4 which is again getting allocated of size 3. So if you remember, this is something similar we saw in our Linux videos as well. Size 3 is actually 3 because width is getting divided by height, and so buffer 4 is size is of only 3 bytes, and you are copying image.data which is of 10 byte over here, as you can see, and so it should crash over here. So you can see that we are getting access violation while writing at location this. So yeah, so this is the root cause. There is a 3 bytes of buffer, you are copying a 10 bytes of data over there, and so yeah, so this is the root cause, and now let's go ahead and debug it using WinDBG. So basically in our sample image file, what happened is that the width and height was too much, and when you divided width by height, it became 3, and there was no check over here. So buffer 4 was getting allocated, but there was no check that the image data which is of 10 bytes, if its length is more than size 3 or not, and that's why it was causing crash. So that was the root cause, and let's go ahead and use WinDBG again. So in WinDBG, go to file, and then click on launch executable. You need to give the path over here. So I will be using the debug file, so let me add that path over here, and then we'll debug it again. So I just need to give the path. Just 1 minute, I'm just trying to copy the path over here. Okay, so here is the path, and you can see that I already given our crashing file name over here. So let's go and run it and see what happens. So I'm going to put a breakpoint on read file and our process image function, and we will trace it out what happens. So let's run it. Okay, as you can see, our breakpoint has triggered. Now let's do a step-by-step analysis. So you can see that since I have the source code on my disk, you can see that it is actually showing the source code over here, but in real life when you don't have window code, you will not be able to see the code. You will see something like this. So I'm just debugging it with source code enable, source view enable, so that it helps us in understanding. So you can see that I when I press P, that is step over, it is simply opening the file, it is printing the data over here. You can see that it just print the header, and over here, right, you can see some assembly instruction. So let's just go through that. We'll just click on P. So you can see that it is adding image width and height over here, and you can see that on the left hand side of thing it is moving the data to the ECX. So now let's see what does ECX contains, and so the command we use is dd ECX. So ECX contains nothing. It is actually either our width or it is actually either our height. So if you convert it to uh, decimal, you will see that it's a very large value over here, and if you compare it with our output, you can see that it is actually our width. So this is what, so ECX contains the width which has been read from the image file over here. And let's go further. So before that, you can see that there is some data which is getting added to our ECX, which is our width. So that is our height. So our height will be over here, that is EBP minus 28, and when you add it, so the result will be inside our ECX. So now ECX now contains something like 5 dBE. So let's just see what it contains. So you can see that it has become a very large value over here. Like when you add width and height, it becomes this much, like 1572756 that is a too big number. Let's go again and see what happens. So you can see that there is a call to malloc over here, and that was actually not allocated, and when you try to copy some data over here, it was crashing. So if you remember, when we use Visual Studio, this malloc was successful, but in this case it was not successful. So there are certain differences you will notice while you use WinDBG to analyze your crashes, and this is one of them. So it has immediately stopped allocating the large amount of memory because we are using PGIP over here, and so we actually got the crash over here when the program was trying to copy image data to our buffer one, that is 0. Right now you can see that there is 0 over here. So that was the root cause. You can see that EX contained 0, and so this was the root cause for this issue. So this is how you analyze crashes using WinDBG. WinDBG also offers time travel debugging, which you can use, but this is something I will cover in a future video. So I hope that my this video has given you a good understanding and good idea of how does WinAFL work, how do we do root cause analysis, and how does crashes look at the debugger level. So if you have any comment, queries or suggestion, feel free to reach me out. I'll be very happy to connect with you. Follow me on the Twitter, follow me on the YouTube. Please like and subscribe my channel, and thank you for watching my videos. Goodbye for now. Thanks. Bye.